Yeah, for sure. But the grape stumping thing, I mean, really all those were America's Funniest Home Videos without the fucking host.
Yeah.
You know, it was you get to see the whole thing instead of seeing like a tiny little clip of it, you know, and somebody like making a stupid comment about it. You get to just watch the thing raw.
Yeah.
Yeah. That grape one is great, by the way. We should put that on the podcast.
I'm gonna stick it in,
I love that video.
Nobody owns that ananymore. It's owned by culture. I feel like you can just have that now.
Maybe. These buckets are filled with grapes. What kind of grapes?
These are filled with Chamberson grapes, and the winner this Saturday, who's stumped music, eating international foods, having wine tours and tastings, vineyard tours, seminars, arts and crafts. It's a lot of fun, a whole day. Stop. Oh, stop. I can't. Oh, stop. I can't breathe. Stop.
I wonder where that lady is. Let's find out where that lady is.
Oh, I'll look it up.
They put a little Chiron. She passed and
she died from grape exposure.
Yeah. I mean, we are laughing at her pain. I mean, she fell down and is in
hard.
She's
crying for help.
She's in exceptional pain.
God, help. Oh, God. Well, no, you're laughing at the fact that she tries to cheat, right?
Yeah.
So they're doing the thing, and then she goes, stop. And the other woman stops, and then she starts being a little sneaky and trying to do it fast because they're having a race to see who can like get the most wine from stomping the grapes. She falls out of the bucket. And then,
fucking cheater.
You're laughing at justice.
You're laughing at
the pain of justice.
But it does. I mean, like you could. It's totally off. I'm glad it's off camera because it's very possible that she lost like quite a few teeth. Because I mean, she goes down, and it almost seems like she tips forward enough to where she might like landed on her face.
I know.
First. But it is also the sound of someone who got the wind knocked out of themselves, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
She gave an interview with a radio program where she said, "Am I embarrassed that I fell? Of course. I also broke a couple ribs. Thanks for asking. I had to spend a few weeks in the hospital under observation. I suffered quite a bit for an honest mistake, a momentary lapse in concentration, and now I'm trying to move on."
You fucking bitch. That was not an honest mistake. It was a dishonest mistake.
Well.
You fucking bitch. Wow.
Now, hold on a second.
We gotta cut this whole episode, man.
Yeah, this is great.
Are you kidding me? This is great. What are your plans for the rest of the summer? I mean, we're sort of at the halfway mark here.
Halfway. We got like a month left. We're deep in the third quarter, buddy.
Well, look, regardless of how long we have left, the key to summer is finding as much free time as possible to enjoy getaways, you know? So enjoy some cookouts, time at the pool, trying desperately to keep
Sunny, S-U-N-N. Be real. You medicine.
And guys, right now,
I don't remember E-Bound's World.
I totally remember E-Bound's World. It was like, I wonder if, does E-Bound's World still exist? Is that still a thing?
I also remember it wasn't really, when we started watching it wasn't real-time streaming. You'd have to almost like LimeWire, where you'd have to download.
LimeWire.
Yeah, You'd have to like download like the short videos.
You couldn't stream it. You couldn't just click on a video and stream. I think you could.
Yeah, but it was like only like really short clips, and then others you had to like
take a while to download it. Yeah.
But it was what was E-Bounds? Was it always just a place to because then College Humor came along and became a forum to post like comedic videos and stuff like that.
Was that the Will Ferrell one?
No, that was Funny or Die.
Funny or Die, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure who started. Well, actually, I do know that Ricky Van Veen, who produced Coffee Town, the movie that I did, he was one of the founders of College Humor, because that was a College Humor movie. It's the only feature movie they ever made.
That's kind of interesting. What internet things have endured, like Reddit. Like you look at like the sort of platform of Reddit, and it seems very kind of basic.
In its design, very basic.
Behind the times, but it's Twitter.
I think that Reddit works.
Keep naming them.
Just name things.
There's Instagram. I guess there's TikTok. What do the kids do now?
Yeah.
What's
TikTok, baby?
I think that's what people like about Reddit, though. I mean, and again, I don't really know. It's one of the things I like about Reddit is it's just like it's a it's not about like the design of the page is very, very basic, but in a way it's great. It makes it easier to look for, because it's less about the page itself and more about what you can find on there and what people are posting. And so you're really just scrolling through posts. But I like Reddit. I don't use it all that often, but it's pretty fun to just scroll through.
Meg, you use Reddit.
I do. I'm on Reddit. Yeah.
You are?
And I go to the Sunny subreddit all the time and I engage. On the
See,
Sunny
I don't know
subreddit.
how to use it. Like, I don't.
Oh, it's easy. It's just like a message board. Like you just hit reply and then you can type right in.
But you have to like have a sign in, I guess. And
yeah, I got into Reddit like a while ago. I guess it was when I was still working on Community, and we had like a massive subreddit on Community, and I convinced them to do an AMA, Ask Me Anything, and that went like pretty big. So then, I don't know, but actually weirdly enough, separately, I took a photo once of my sister's now ex-husband's dog, and posing underneath a painting of itself. The dog's name was Delmar, and there's a picture I took of it posing underneath the painting of itself, and put that on Twitter, and somebody took it and put it up on Reddit, and then that went viral. It got like millions of hits.
What?
Yeah, to the point where then, as a joke, I got my sister a phone case that had this picture on it, and she would get like stopped by people, and they were like, "Oh, I've seen that dog." So that was like my little viral moment, I guess, of something.
when you're making comments on Reddit, do people know it's you?
Yeah, because I have my username.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so like when the shipping thing happened, I went on Reddit and I was like, hey guys, like, here's the thing. I don't know what I'm doing. And I literally wrote that. I was like, I'm a comedy writer. I'm producing this podcast for the first time. So I'm not trying to rip you off. I just am a human who makes mistakes. And they actually responded to it like really well. And of course they were immediately, because this is what happens whenever you respond to someone's outrage. They're all like, oh no, we love you. We're so sorry.
That's exactly
like,
right. No, because if you're contrite and you're like, sorry, I'm just a person in the world.
It's fine though, but like outrage, like, that's a specific thing, right? That's a sales thing, pricing mistake. So that makes a little bit more sense to engage with the fans and say, hey, sorry, this is, but like, for however many thousands of people write their comments on the internet, there's millions more that never do, right? So you might be addressing, the smallest percentage of outraged people who don't like your Mythic Quest, right? They like, we hate this episode, we think it was terrible, and then you take time, you almost like give too much credit to their outrage and then discredit all the other people who weren't outraged. Sometimes I feel like, like engaging in the comments or whatever is like, okay, if you did a performance on Broadway, the year's 1972, right? And then you put on a costume, went into the lobby, and heard every single person's opinion about the play. That is not the gig. The gig is you come out, curtain goes up, you sing and dance, say your lines, curtain goes down, you're done. Maybe you shake someone's hand outside or you sign an autograph, but the gig is not to then go person to person, tell me what you thought of the performance. What did you think of the performance? Are you happy? Oh, you're outraged? Oh my God, let me explain to you why this is this way. Like,
also, if you've
that's
ever,
not what the process is.
If you've ever sat in on a focus group, you know that if you ask people to have an opinion, they'll come up with one.
Sure.
And sometimes it's not their natural opinion. It's like that they want to have a strong take on something.
Imagine what Sunny would have been if we poured through focus groups trying to make the show.
Did you ever focus group this show?
No, they never. No, I think they knew better than to try and do that. And FX is, I think, I don't know, do they do that with any of their shows? Or do they just trust their own tastes? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't ever do it.
They do focus groups.
Wouldn't
Probably not,
Well,
I think there's a value to showing an audience something, right? Like you're cutting together a show or a movie and you screen it in front of an audience.
But that's for you.
That's for
so
you.
That you can gauge the reaction.
And you feel the air go out of the room for a section. You're like, oh, maybe I need to tighten this up, or like.
But it's also like, when you see something that you made in front of an audience, even if you've been in the editing room for a year editing that thing, the first time you see it in front of an audience, whether you're gauging people's reactions or not, you're suddenly able to be a little bit more
audience.
objective
Yeah.
about it. I don't know what that is. I don't know. It's because just the awareness that other people are watching it suddenly puts you in the same place as the audience, and you see things that you didn't notice even though you've been in the editing room for a year. I think that's an interesting phenomenon. Like I've always felt that anytime I've ever watched something.
Well, it's
that I
because if
was
you're painting a
involved in.
picture, you know every stroke. You know how that tree got made, and you're looking at the tree for all its parts, right? So you're like, oh, okay, the trunk. Oh, I did that little bit of sunlight on the trunk, and so that's really making that seem more three-dimensional. And then but you haven't like hung it on a wall, walked around the block, and then come in and looked at it with a room full of people.
Yeah.
And then it's a different thing. Now you're looking at the painting for the experience of the painting itself as opposed to the process of making it.
Yeah.
So there's there's a weird removal.
Did you guys do a focus group for
Mystic Quest.
Mr. Quest? No.
Mr.
Quest.
No, I probably could have worked on that title a little bit if you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would. I mean, we actually could
Well,
have
you did.
benefited
It wasn't.
from
What was the
mine.
original
Hero
title?
Quest.
And then we tried to clear
right?
55
we tried-
titles,
yeah,
and
55
the only
titles.
one that would clear, well, there were two that cleared. Hero's Reign, spelled REIGN, which was a weird, confusing title because, and then Mythic Quest. Those are the only ones that
You
cleared.
tried Mystic Quest too. At one
tried
point,
it.
didn't you?
We tried everything.
Just hard to clear
I think
with
you just
video.
have to make your thing. You have to. The curtain goes up and you have to sing and dance. The curtain goes down, and then it's everyone else's issue after that, right? Like,
But don't you find that like that's fine with a live performance, but like I got into doing comedy because I wanted to hear people laugh at stuff that I made and wrote, and I'm not a performer, so I didn't want it to be on stage. So it is like I find it really hard to resist looking at Twitter and Reddit and stuff about stuff that I've made because I want to know that it made somebody laugh. Like way back in the day when I was living in New York and writing for The Onion, I used to like, if I'd see somebody on the subway that was reading The Onion, I would like stand close to them just in case I might hear them laugh at something.
of course, yeah, you're doing it for the audience, and
Super
you want
needy.
them to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But probably what's worse than seeing a bunch of bad comments about something they did is seeing no comments.
That's true.
No one talking about it.
Yeah,
Like
maybe.
that's almost
be rough.
worse. Or you're just like, oh wow, I just made a thing and no one gave a shit.
It can go either way. You can either get too caught up in everyone's negative comments or too wrapped up in the positivity that you then you lose your own objectivity about what you're doing.
Yeah, that's the danger of it.
Speaking of hard criticisms to take, in this episode, Dennis thinks he's a stallion. And there's a funny scene where Mac has to break the news to him that
Yeah.
he is no longer a beefcake.
Yeah, it's a very funny performance of yours, because you really do perform it like, when you
feel
hear
bad for you because you're not aware.
Yeah, but yes, exactly. You feel bad for him, but the very first reaction is also like, oh no, he doesn't know.
Yeah, everybody in the room knows. but he doesn't.
Everybody
No,
knows,
this is so
and he
sad.
doesn't know.
He doesn't
I
see
thought
it.
he knew. I thought he knew he was in decline, and now I'm gonna have to tell him. And you feel bad about it.
Yeah,
but you
but
don't.
it needs to be told.
It needs to be said,
to be said.
And in the clearest possible way.
Yeah, so that you don't continue to humiliate yourself.
Correct. In front of all these wonderful people. Yeah.
I
Very
think it's
funny.
very funny when your horrible characters are trying to be nice and kind to each other for like a minute and break out of that. I think that's always like a good.
Well, like when Dee says, I know, I'm gonna go do my own thing because I know you're not gonna put me on this billboard. We're all agreeing with her.
Yeah.
And it's not that we think we're being nice, but we're like, oh yeah, no, we would no. You're absolutely right. Right? You're absolutely right. We would never put you on that billboard.
Never ever.
Yeah.
Not you. No. Oh my God.
We don't even let her finish. She starts by saying, I know what you guys are going to say, and then we don't even let her finish saying it. We need to say it.
We say
'Cause
it,
she
yeah,
brought
we
it
have
up.
to
We
say
have
it.
to say it.
Yeah. But it's all done under the auspices of like, you're right. You're right about everything that you're thinking. You're right. So in a way, it's like we're like affirming something, but in the most negative possible way, which is
I
funny.
don't remember what that volleyball was that I was throwing at her face. I mean, it must have been foam.
One of those.
No.
Soft.
Like a
It was
nerf
like
ball.
one of those like little like super cheap rubber balls that you get at that's
I
like
don't
really
think
light.
I think it was foam. Because I think if I threw a rubber ball at her face that hard, it
Not
would've
even a
stung like
kickball.
crazy.
I mean one
I
of
know
those
what
like
you're talking about. Really thin
really
plastic.
thin layer
Yeah.
of rubber.
I think
balls.
foam would have hurt more.
I think I'm pretty sure
really good. That was like the
It what?
comedy of it was it bouncing so well off.
That's
her
also what
face.
makes me think that it was one of
Yeah.
those. You know what I'm talking? You know what we're talking about? Like
Yeah.
you get it like a ball bin.
yeah.
Cheap, like super
it's
thin.
It's almost a balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
almost
what
a
I mean?
balloon. Yes,
Yeah.
so it's only slightly thicker than a balloon, really. I think that's what it was, and they painted the
Yeah, you
volleyball
might be
lines
right.
on there. They drew them on or whatever. And,
then-
then that same and then the volleyball that you have in Philly is like it doesn't have the black volleyball line. It's like a totally different ball.
Different props, people.
Yeah.
And then you did a stunt, Glenn, of getting kicked in the nuts. Do you remember how they did that?
Yeah, I don't remember. So I remember I thought like, oh, I'll just wear a cup or whatever, and then we'll do a thing where you kick, because that's kind of.
I remember the move was to kick the inner thigh.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't.
But I actually wore some sort of a thing. I don't remember, but I do remember it was like some sort of like a thing like that, where my dick and balls were here and this thing was here, so that you could literally kick me right in the right spot, and it would never quite reach my balls, which were higher at the time than they are now.
Couldn't do that now.
Couldn't do that now. You'd have to, I'd have to wear a real, I'd have to sag those
Step
pants
on your
real
shoe
low.
and kick the ball.
But actually, you could. If you look at it though, you can see my pants are sagging like crazy because I think I had them real low
right, to hide the
accommodate whatever that.
The ball trap.
The ball.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah, the
your-
ball saver. Are your balls lower than they're lower than they used to be, aren't they?
I have no idea. I've never measured the proximity.
You haven't been keeping track of it like you do with your kids' height on the wall.
I haven't noticed that.
It's just getting lower and lower as the year. You guys don't do that?
Do balls go lower? I didn't know about this.
Hey,
We also got to see you tear away pants in this and expose
Yeah.
some the same tidy whities that I think you were wearing when you were seducing Margaret
Margaret
McCoy.
Royal, yeah, it's sort of
Yeah.
high-waisted.
Those
yeah, it's
high-waisted
pulled up a
things.
little too high. Wearing white socks, they're also pulled up real high.
And you took a wide stance.
Yeah, I got myself into a slightly wider stance.
Good that we knew that would be funny, right? That we weren't like, yeah, but he would want to wear, something that he thought was sexier. Like that we were just like, it's
He doesn't
just
know.
funny.
He doesn't
It's all
know.
good.
Yeah, he doesn't know, or he wasn't thinking about it, or he thinks he's so sexy that doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
You know what? That is what it is.
I loved America's Next Top Model.
We both did. You and
Yeah,
I
know,
watched
we
it.
I watched it every
We watched the
week.
entire first season of that show. Like I would
But
come
Tyra
over
Banks,
to your
that was
place.
her show?
Tyra
Tyra
Banks.
Banks?
Yeah.
She's fierce.
Is that
I
that
loved it.
It was great. It was
Great.
amazing.
What'd you like about it?
It was
I love
hilarious.
the competition. Yeah, it was really funny. Tyra Banks is amazing. It was one of those reality shows that I got into for this. Like, I wasn't into American Idol. I never really watched that back in the day, and it was on around the same time. So I don't know. It was fascinating. A fascinating look into an industry I didn't understand.
That's exactly right. It was fascinating. It was almost like, wow, I didn't know, but it was also fun to watch them try to come up with different scenarios to put the models in to make it a show. It's like, okay. And that's why we did the barnyard thing, because we were like, that's what they would do on America's Next Top Model. They'd be like, you're a space alien. They would just do this shit. It was like, and try to make it seem like that's something that would ever happen to you. Like, if you can't be a convincing barnyard animal, you're never gonna make it as a model. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what's that to do with anything?
It's just a competitive.
Fucking Kate Moss ever had to be a donkey? Probably not.
Probably not.
No.
You guys watching reality shows now? Or are you off reality shows?
I dip in and out. I mean, there's an argument to be made that any professional sports program that you watch is
Yeah, it's
a
a little
reality
bit.
show. I mean, it's the same idea. You're watching a competition amongst people, and the only reason you really care is the story behind it. And they were just really good at producing it. So,
And me and my kids and Jill, like as a family, we watch America's Got Talent.
Okay.
So I've realized that there's some of those big competition shows that are they're a little bit more, you don't feel like you're just kind of sitting and just like that. If you're watching it as a family, it feels like an actual event. It feels like something that you're doing together.
I like the survivalist ones.
Yeah, I know.
Have you been
Yeah.
watching Alone?
Alone, I love.
I haven't seen that
Alone
yet. Is that
amazing.
Netflix?
Oh, it's great. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's I think it was like a Nat Geo show.
Oh.
And they basically drop 10 people into like a really isolated environment, but they separate them all. And then it's a last man standing or woman standing competition for who can survive in that place the longest. And they only get to bring like 10 items with them.
Yeah.
It's really good.
People are impressive. Like the structures they build are.
Yeah.
Snowflake Mountain. Did you watch it?
No, but I saw the commercial for it.
You did.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you had the same thought. You were like, I might have to watch this. And I did watch it. Cool, because I was in Ontario shooting the movie, so I had like more time to like just watch things at times, you know? And I watched that whole damn thing. It was basically, they took a bunch of like really rich and like super entitled, like young 20-somethings or like late teens, early 20s, and basically told them that they were going to like this awesome resort to shoot like a reality show at this resort, you know, so they thought they were all gonna be like drinking and partying and in a house
Put them through hell.
and bickering and being in hot tubs and shit. And instead they dropped them off on a fucking mountaintop and they were like, survive.
That would be fun.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy.
I'm going to toss something out here. It might be a bit.
You might notice this in that scene where Dennis arrives to take part in the competition. There is a man standing near the sort of pole in the bar, and he has a couple lines, and then he basically asks about how much money they're getting paid, and then leaves. And you guys pointed out that he recurs.
That is the guy. Yeah, that's the guy in
PTSD.
PTSD.
Season 12.
Yeah. So as I recall at the time that we cast that guy, well, he gave a great audition. So we were like, oh, we really want this guy. And I think we realized, we're like, oh, he's already been in an episode. He might have even said it. I think something makes me think maybe he even said, I've already done one or something, but
I think this makes sense.
I think this makes sense. And we were like, yeah, it totally makes sense. Like there's a million bars in Philly.
Yeah.
You know, he had this one experience where he tried to do a billboard thing or whatever.
Plenty of people have done multiple episodes, and some people have done multiple characters.
Yeah. But in my mind, he's playing the same character.
The same guy,
he just doesn't remember that he's been there.
He had a kid and became a stripper.
Yeah.
Well, he's making money from the stripping, so that makes sense. It's consistent with his character.
Yeah, exactly.
He shows up when money
made
is being
sense.
made. Yeah.
Carter McIntyre.
It was really good.
He's great. He's great in that little bit that he does in this episode.
Yeah, and also cameoing is one of your actual cameras in this.
Yes, that's what we
episode.
shot the actual series on, the DVX 100A.
The camera that
That was
Charlie
not
is
the A.
using.
Was it the B?
I think that was the B.
We were on
that
the
was-
DVX
I think we were on the B.
Yeah, so when I throw the volleyball in Caitlin's face, when she's crazy Patty, the camera that we're filming her with is the same exact cameras that we filmed the show on. And if they don't look like giant, expensive cameras, it's because they're not.
Standard definition 4.34:3
This is the
aspect ratio.
This was the last season that we did in 4:3.
Yeah.
Season 5 we did in 16:9, but still refused to go HD.
I'm pointing at Charlie right now.
Oh yeah, because I
he's
didn't
the
want
one.
to switch to HD.
Season 6 we went HD, although we got probably the cheapest HD cameras you could possibly get. Possibly because we didn't. Actually, I think that was the thought was we don't want it to look too drastically different, but we know we need to step into the modern era by going HD, because every TV was becoming HD then. So it was like, wow, this is going to really, really start to look different and even worse than it did before.
Pretty soon, everyone's going to have a contraption on their television that makes all television look awful. So we need to go ahead and
Get into that.
make sure that it can look as awful as possible.
That's right. That's right.
I don't understand how people can't see it. They can't
dude,
see it.
I was just
90% of the population does not know that they're watching Automotion Plus.
I was
90%.
a house in Rhode Island. They had that on their TV, and I couldn't. There was no
You couldn't.
remote for the TV. There was a remote for just
you could control the whole system, but you didn't have the actual
to
television
get
remote
into the guts
to get
of
into
that
the
motherfucking
settings.
television. Yeah, it's happened to me a couple times where
Me
I've
too.
not figured out how to turn
But
it
they
off.
must do focus groups on that. My guess is that because otherwise, why would Sony or whoever's ever
Go
building
ahead
the
and
TV
focus
shows?
groups for all sorts of things. I think when it comes to a story, maybe not so much, but for whether or not a television looks like absolute
No, but I mean,
shit
there's
when
a
you watch
reason
movie.
why Sony is refused. They could very easily just get rid of that feature because they know everybody in Hollywood hates it because it's ruining their movies and TV
the
shows.
default setting. That's my thing.
I know, but
don't have it be the
but my
default
point
setting.
is that they must be using a data point to drive that decision. To say people actually like this, they want it on their televisions.
People like soap operas, and that's what it makes everything look like.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
That's right.
popular.
People must prefer it. Otherwise, I don't know why they would make it as the default setting. It doesn't make any sense.
No, I don't think we do things just because people prefer it. It's like,
You think there's something else going on?
yeah, I think it's too expensive for them to now go figure out. Like somebody came up with a technology that people were like, oh wow, yeah, when you watch a baseball game, it is going to look,
Yeah,
like
and
you're
it
there
is good for that.
and on the field, right? Or you play a video game or something. And then someone was like, oh, but it's ruining everything else. And they're like, yeah, but we already did it. It's going to be really expensive and time consuming to figure out how to make other stuff look good. Can't we just ruin everything so people can watch the football game? Like,
But they make
Can't we just ruin
a
everything?
brand new TV every 6 weeks. Like,
yeah, but they don't break through with technology every 6 weeks. So I mean,
They're making the TV smaller and thinner.
I don't know. It's so bad. It's just so
It's bad.
upsetting.
Really frustrating.
Yeah.
Just go into your settings and turn off Auto Motion Plus.
I've got a TV in my house where I have been through all the sets. It's a TV that I got like a year ago.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's like
You turned everything off, and there's still like a hint of it. I
still
have
there.
that too.
It's still there.
I turned every fucking setting off on that television that there is to turn off.
And I've used it too much now to I can't. I can't.
There's
get
no
it
going back.
There's no going back.
You'll have to go into one of the 6 or 7 other rooms in your house that has a TV. and watch
Well,
it.
that's the problem, right?
Yeah,
because
it's
I'm like,
I
which
can't.
fucking-
Which room am I gonna go into?
Where am I gonna? Which room has the best TV with the least?
Because that's where I'm
amount
gonna
of-
spend.
But we're
my
going
time.
the wrong direction where if you're on an airplane and you're watching on the screen on the back of the seat, that screen, it looks better than your TV at home.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's, we've fucked up. We've
They've
We
gone
didn't
too far.
fuck up. They fucked up.
they fucked it up.
They've gone too far.
They've gone too far. They've ruined television.
By the way, I finally saw Top Gun Maverick.
Oh.
Okay, here we go.
I loved it.
Of
But you know
course
why?
did.
Because you have a
Of course
pulse.
you did. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
I loved it.
Yes.
I think the whole movie, I was like, just like
Yes.
from start to finish.
Yeah.
Like the second it starts and they put that Top Gun song in,
Yeah.
they're like, dong.
Gives you everything you need.
Now, imagine a year from now, you're getting to watch that at home for the first time, and you're like, huh, why'd they make it look like it's all just like fake CGI and bad? Well, they didn't.
They didn't.
Your
They
TV
didn't.
is ruining it.
Sony did.
Sony did.
Panasonic did.
So does that mean you guys want me to stop publishing the podcast with Auto Motion Plus on it? 'Cause I
God
thought-
damn
yeah.
it.
God damn
we might have beaten Joe Rogan if I hadn't done that.
I think
so.
every-
Well, I don't think laptops have it, right? So if someone is watching this on their laptop or on
Yeah,
their phone,
laptop's still okay for now.
For now,
That's what everybody's
somebody's
watching
going to do it.
anyway.
I bet you there's some fucking PC company that's already done it. And they're like, we got the ruining now. We have the ruining technology. We just installed it.
Got it.
We got it. We figured it
We
out.
can ruin movies on all your devices.
We figured out how to ruin the movie experience on all your devices.
Yeah.
Yeah, God bless, huh?
I got into some voice acting work where I worked for a cult here in Japan. When you hear their voices, you have to imbue that in English. I had to feel 9 different voices. So I went full Dynasty Warriors like 3 with it. I was like, the heavens have spoken!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Trash Taste Podcast. I'm Joey, and I'm with the boys as per usual. And with me, I have a guest. Introduce yourself.
My name is Peter, and I am a former English teacher after 10 years of suffering for my trade. And I'm here to educate you guys on my final lesson about what it's like.
The final lesson.
This is it. This is it. My lasting memories are being put to this recording of teaching English in Japan and all the shame that comes with it.
But you're not just a former English teacher in Japan. You're also a full-time Twitch streamer, aren't you? Mr. Premier too?
Yes. Well, I mean, there are a lot of people who can claim to be full-time Twitch streamers. And I think that when I first started teaching, teaching is considered kind of the great shame of jobs in Japan.
Wait, hold on.
Wait. And then I became a Twitch streamer and I realized, no, there's lower. So I am okay, but no, it is.
Got him.
Yeah, it's true. But no, teaching is an interesting profession, right? Of course, in most societies, it's highly respected. And then you take one look at someone like me and you realize, maybe not. But the thing is I think a lot of people want to come to Japan and they need an opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
And imagine, for example, you have no marketable skills or a theater degree or...
Really selling yourself here, Peter.
I'm not naming names. But if you did have those things, but you have a bachelor's, well, then you've got an opportunity to come to be a teacher in Japan.
That's just Asia, right?
It's,
it's just like it was the same thing in Thailand where you could be the most all you need is a bachelor's and then you can get like any job you wanted.
And it could be any bachelor.
Yeah.
Well, trust me, I know. I like in America, I had a theater degree, which is it's really good for waiting tables. You're a great waiter. You get tips well, and that's. But when you come to Japan and you do teach, I think the expat community or the other people who are in Japan they look down upon it pretty heavily.
Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to ask straight up, all right? Because I think there's a lot of people who watch Trash Taste and just Japan content in general, right? Who obviously they're like, I want to be able to go to Japan. And when they go do their research, they realize, okay, the easiest way is to become an English teacher in Japan, right? That's the easiest gateway method, right? But I think the general consensus of English teachers in Japan being as you put it, a shameful position or I guess history. I don't know. I personally haven't heard much about that. So obviously you have the experience of being in that position. None of us do.
Yeah.
So why do you think that is the case?
Yeah, because I think we've met a few English teachers who have lived in Japan, but I think you have one of the most interesting stories out of a lot of people we've met, and also you have unlike a lot of people we've brought on who have also lived in Japan. You've had the true expat experience. I think.
For sure.
Because you've lived in Japan for how long now?
Almost 12 years now.
12.
There's something time loses meaning after a certain point. I came here right after the Tohoku earthquake of 2011.
Okay.
So about 2 weeks. That was a while ago. But
a while ago.
It was a long time. I think, though, to answer your question about why it's kind of disrespected, and I do want to be clear, as much as I'm joking around, teaching can be a good profession here.
Yeah.
But the reason it's looked down upon is we have to deconstruct what is a teacher and what is an English teacher as a foreigner.
Okay.
You're not going to be, reading Socrates and explaining all of these cool Shakespearean stories. You are hired as an entertainer and or clown. And you really have to, this is an important, you are the court jester, and you have to imagine you're not in a college setting, right? You're teaching potentially kids who are anywhere from the ages of 0 all the way through high school. And if you're in elementary school or junior high, or especially, the kind of Kaiwa, special class, additional education outside
Special
of school.
clown.
you better get the big shoes and the red buttons and be ready to sing some songs and create some ridiculous lessons to make English fun and interactive.
Okay, so I've heard about being an English teacher in Japan and a lot of like other Asian countries, but what does that actually entail? What responsibilities are on you, and how much do you have to plan?
I imagine it's different based on what school and what.
Yeah.
Well, what's like the typical like step-by-step process as a full-time
Is there a
English
typical
teacher?
one?
Well, let's go with like the three different scenarios. I think this will help kind of simplify it.
Sure.
Let's start with the eikaiwa,
Okay.
which a lot of people who did not get into a school teach at an eikaiwa.
Yeah.
Those are lessons that students come to anywhere from like 2 years old up to maybe elementary school. Those are usually planned out for you, or you have some sort of reference from a book that some other expat wrote in 1977. And you're like, all right, so we're going to teach colors today. And it can be pretty brutal. Like a normal lesson would be something like this. And this is why I highly recommend you think very hard about being a teacher. You walk into the classroom and there's about 13 kids screaming, crying, sneezing, puking, whatever. And they're all shitting. They're all just playing with toys and stuff. And you give them like 5 or 6 minutes of toy time. And this is the hardest part. A lot of the times, this is one of the first times that parents are leaving their kids alone.
Right.
So and we encourage them. You tape up all the walls and you say like, just don't look through the window and the doors. Don't be visible, because when the door shuts and I start, we need them to just be distracted and not think, where's my mom and where's my dad?
Right.
Yeah.
That never works. Like 0%. So you'll close the door and you'll be like, all right. And there's like songs you go like, oh God, you're gonna give me PTSD. You say like,
I want to hear the song.
You're lucky I can't stand up and do the full performance, but you go, clean up, everybody, everywhere, clean up, everybody, do your share. So you have to.
So you're about to say, everyone do your shit.
Yeah, everyone clean up your shit. And so, and then they realize, my parents aren't here and the waterworks begin. It doesn't matter if it's the first lesson or the 10th. This is something that you have to grapple with.
Sure.
And you bought your, strawberry frappuccino with the $3 that you've made this year teaching, and you're just like, I wish this was alcohol. This is awful. And then it's just, you got to do this every single day, 5 or 6 days a week, in perpetuity, until you can escape that job.
So this is obviously...
This is the eikaiwa version.
Yeah, so this is obviously like targeted towards, like what, average age?
I would say anywhere from 2 all the way until early middle school. And the middle schoolers are the classes are smaller. Right. It's a bit more personal. You can just say like, what are you studying in school today? Let me help you. So those are kind of fun, but anywhere in the baby to...
The baby range.
Who's the babysitter?
Babysitter.
Oh man, it is not, but it can be rewarding, of course. I'm saying that because I had 2 or 3 good memories, but it is fun to see kids and you help them learn like what does the color blue look like in English.
All right, so
what are the other? You said that was the first.
That's the first one. Then the next is elementary school. So now you have to start wearing the suit and you have to start going to school and sitting with the morning meetings with the teachers. And there's a lot of differences from like America. Like as a teacher, you'd walk up to the principal and you'd say like, "Ohayou gozaimasu," and he'd be like, "Ew," and then you'd go sit down. And then now you're kind of in this world where you have an abundance of free time. And you have no idea how to spend it because you don't have any money, and you can study Japanese or you can, look busy on the computer. But then the classes you have anywhere from 3 to 5 a day, and it's like talking about the weather, or you go in there and tell them about, numbers or emotions, and then you repeat this for 65 years. And then, but then the final one is you get into junior and high school. Junior high school and high school?
Yeah.
Those are considered, I would say, the best positions, especially high school. Finally, the kids have an opportunity to start explaining, their experiences and their...
Like they can actually talk to you.
Yeah.
Well, let's not jump the gun. Some can, yes. Some can talk to you.
Yeah.
But at least you can kind of extract some information that's not, what train do you like? It's Dr. Yellow, the Shinkansen. Wow, that's amazing. Or your favorite color's blue. Okay. And how old are you? I'm 7. Thank you. Those are the basics. But then in high school, you really get an opportunity, like you said, to have conversations.
If they choose to.
Yeah.
If they choose to, or if they can, or mostly if they choose to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So going back even all the way before this, so what made you want to move to Japan in the first place? Because I assume you discovered teaching English because that was one of the most prevalent ways to like get to move to Japan, right?
It was. Well, for me, I have a very unique history, I guess. It's very unusual. When I was 19, I was in college.
Right.
I had to think about that.
Yeah.
And I was taking a Japanese lesson because I just had seen some Japanese movies I thought were cool, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Battle Royale was still really popular, and Akira Kurosawa films with my buddies, and of course, video games. So I took this Japanese class, and I was completely failing it. I'm so bad. It's a theme throughout my language studies. But they said, the teacher said, hey, we need somebody to be a host family because this person lost their original host family because of a disagreement or something. Right. And I was thinking, damn, that would be so sick. I could like play Street Fighter with this dude and we could hang out all the time and I could learn Japanese. And I was like, I'll do that. That sounds cool. Yeah. And it ended up being a girl who lived with my mother and I for like 2 or 3 years. Okay. And I had
2 or 3 years?
Well,
that's long for a host family, right?
Yeah.
Like usually they don't last. It's like maybe what 3 to 6 months.
It was like a week or something.
A week?
No. I think on average it's like maybe 3 months.
I guess when that distance, I did it with like Irish kids. And we did that for like a week, and that was too much.
Well, I'm sure.
What are you? I did not get along well with my Irish counterpart.
Yeah. No, because Sydney did the same thing as well. She had a host. She was a host family as well.
Oh, right.
And she had the choice between her parents wanted to become a host family for someone abroad. And Sydney was going through her weeb phase. She was like, pick someone Japanese. And it's like, I'm begging for you. I'm begging for you.
Catalog.
This one looks nice.
This one, the Japanese one, please.
Well, I'm thankful that she didn't have a catalog, or I would have never come to Japan because I don't think she would have chose me. But my mom was, my sister had just moved out, and so it was kind of cool because I was living in the basement like any normal American boy. Of course, and then she took like my sister's old room upstairs, and so I think it was a bit longer. Even when I went to college in a different city, she stayed at the house and stuff.
Wow.
But she said, your family's been so kind to me. Why don't I introduce you to my family and you visit Japan? So I was like 20, 21, and she lived in Yokohama, which is a really nice place to visit. And I loved it, man. It was such a transformative part of my life where I was like studying acting and I could read the tea leaves, so to speak. I was like,
what year was this? Sorry?
This was 1964. No, I'm kidding. No, this was 2004 or 2005 or something.
I was 10.
This was so different from now.
Well, yes, it was.
Well, that was when Akihabara was still the electric city.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Because when I went to Akihabara, it was insane. When I was growing up, Akihabara was a place of legend. Yeah. Every video game magazines that EGM or Game Players or PSM, Tips and Tricks, they would have a correspondent from Akihabara talking about the sites and the games and the arcades.
That was so cool.
It was there was like 3 maid cafes as opposed to now where there's 300 maid cafes. You went there and it was the hobby town. So anyway, I had a great experience and I said, if acting doesn't work out, I will come to Japan someday again. So I visited 2 more times, and then at 26, I finally got my college degree, a little later than some would say. But I made the move, and that's where I started, in Niigata, which on the west coast of Japan. But that's why I was interested in coming for sure.
Okay, so did you go through the JET program like everyone else?
I applied, and that sounds lame. I made it to the interview phase, but I graduated in winter as opposed to like spring or summer, like most students. And their interviews are in like late fall. So they said, you've made it to the interview phase, but it would take about 9 more months to have.
Oh, shit.
So I was like, okay, I'll put that in my back pocket, but I'll check out like newsletters or online sources. And if I can find a opportunity, we'll see how it works. And mine was marketed as beautiful beach town in the western coast of Japan. And I was like, let's fucking go.
Really? And what's your source?
This wasn't with JET. This was with.
It was the Hart Corporation, and
what the fuck's that?
We don't know yet. I think it may have not even been a real company, but they.
This is the dude in his basement.
Actually,
when you arrived, it was crazy, right?
Well, man, it was such a mess. So I got hired the day before the earthquake.
Oh shit!
And
my God.
Then the plane and the moving was pretty rapid from there. And so I was trying to contact this source, but not be, because they were in, it was in Ibaraki, was where their head office was, which was kind of close enough to the earthquake.
Yeah. Right.
And I was messaging him, I was like, do I have a job? But don't answer me unless you can, or
It's not about me. It's
not, like, I just was trying to figure out what am I doing. And he was like, yes, come to Japan. And I was like, I don't have a visa or anything. He's like, we'll sort it later. And I was like,
that's a red flag. That's a red flag.
Red flag, no way, let's go.
You answered, you were like,
so when I got there, I was on a tourist visa, and I showed up, and I took a bus by myself to Ibaraki, and it was still struggling from the earthquake. And we went into basically a basement, and there was still manila folders and files all over the floor. And the guy was just, the definition of an expat who has been in the teaching game too long. Right. He was just like, okay, everyone, you're going to, and I was like, you got that? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, sure. And we had a 2-day training. It was bad. It was really, and so we had 2 days of training. Most of it was centered around, this is a sad thing. It was, don't be inappropriate to the children, which is, and I was like, yeah, I kind of figured that part out of my head.
You never got to tell me, bro.
We needed a course for that? What was the...
Well, it was like 7 of the 8 hours was examples of what not to do.
Like what?
For example,
okay.
Don't show pornography. I was like, okay.
Wow, thank you for telling me.
I had that one on my bingo sheet.
Well, the Italian Senate could never.
Fuck. Yeah. Like, all right, I'll delete the fucking Final Fantasy VII
Italians, I guess you're out of there now.
I was like, well, 3 terabytes gone. There it went. The next one may surprise you. You're not supposed to date students.
Oh my!
Wow.
So,
didn't know that one.
And I was sitting there thinking, what have I done?
Just another guy just got up and left.
Well, I was like,
I'm out.
Well, yeah.
Did they show you like a safety video for this? Be like,
there was actually limited electricity even because they were doing like energy. But I was thinking like, and I did ask, I was like, why are you telling us the most obvious information ever? And he was like, well, the previous people who were teaching, they all lost their contract because of a guy or girl, I don't know who it was, but like did something inappropriate.
Oh my
so
God.
the entire, and it wasn't that company. It was a different, and then they got hired. So my contract was only for 3 months. So we were the replacements, and I guess they were very eager not to have something happen.
Any problems?
But I was like, okay, well, what about the actual like teaching part? I don't have any experience. Do I need any of that? And he's like, you'll be fine. And I was like, well, how many schools do I have? Like, just is it a high school? He's like, you have 7. And I was like,
what?
That's what I said. And I was like, what does that mean? He's like, you have 5 elementary schools and 2 junior high schools. And I was like, but there's only like 5 days in a working week. And he was like, oh, that's right. You're going to go you're going to switch schools at lunchtime and you'll have to do these things.
Whoa.
This was a very exciting phase. And so then after those 2 days
what the fuck?
Where you learn.
Very exciting. This is terrifying.
Well, yeah, it was. But you were in it. And you just,
I'm in Japan.
I was like, I don't have a phone. I don't have a carrier. I didn't have a phone for my first 4 months.
Was it weird being like totally disconnected from your home? Like,
yeah, it was. And it was tough because you're coming from something like I had my entire life's possessions in like 2 or 3 suitcases. And imagine, you weebs with your toys and your pillows and your
whatever the fuck you weebs carry.
Yeah, whatever you guys have, your I don't know, clothing, and then you have to consolidate all of that down into 2 suitcases, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well then that's not as cool as it made it sound then. So,
it was mainly PCs.
Yeah, mainly PCs.
Yeah.
I didn't have a computer. I didn't have anything.
Right.
The iPhone 3S had just come out to put this in perspective.
There are probably some kids watching this that are like, the what?
The what? Yeah, I know. It's so bad, and I'm so old. But it's cool, though. But they gave me a car, and they put a washing machine in the back, and they said, just drive like 8 hours that way. And I was like, what do you mean?
Wait. They gave you a car?
Yeah, I had to have a car because my classes were, Joetsu, where I was staying, is not a walkable.
I mean, once you're outside of Tokyo, you
I know, but like,
and they just told
where
you
did this car come from? Don't you need a lot of documents?
I'm sure you do need them, but we're just
it was
hoping,
like, so I just found a car on the side of the road. I keyed it.
Hotwired it. He's like, go.
It's like, go, get it now.
You found this company through Google, right?
It was actually a
Not
thing.
like Craigslist or some shit like that?
That's the name. No, I'm kidding. It was actually
Alibaba.
similar. It was called Ohio Sensei. And it was a monthly newsletter that they would send out that had listings of opportunities.
Okay.
And 95% of them were, if you're in Japan, here is what you can do.
Right.
But there was like one that was like, we'll hire anyone. And I was like, that's me. I can do that. So I don't have any experience driving in Japan. I don't even totally familiar with all of the rules. And
Not to
things.
mention it's the wrong
It's on
side,
the
left side, right?
The wrong side.
Did you have a driver's license?
I did. I was a pizza delivery man in the United States, so I'm no
Okay.
stranger.
But did
to-
you have an international license?
Wait a minute. No, I'm kidding. I did. I had
Okay.
a.
Okay.
But
Just making
those,
sure,
for
yeah.
Americans, those only last a year, and then you can't.
Yeah.
That's
So-
everyone, yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, after that, do you guys have to take the test?
If you get a,
Yeah, you gotta-
We don't have to take a test for the UK, but in Japan, they
US, you have to do
Yeah,
it's
we
the
got to
other
do the
side,
whole
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, in Japan, if you move here because you're a resident, you're only, for the first year you're allowed to use an international driving license, and then after that you're not allowed to use it
Yeah.
because you're a
So
resident.
you either have to get a Japanese driver's license or you have to convert your current license wherever
To a
the country is
Japanese
to a
one.
Japanese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I had that piece of
Yeah.
paper, and then
Yeah.
I drove west or wherever it was, and then I finally, after about 11 or 12 hours,
I hit
of
the
driving,
coastline.
I hit the coastline, and then I had to go south because I overshot it. But like, I got there, and it was kind of crazy because there was 6 other teachers with me, and we were meeting in like literally a basement, and it even kind of reminds me of like a cinematic thing with like the swinging
Flickering
lamp,
light,
and
yeah.
it was like very low light, and like you'd see people's faces for like 2 seconds.
It's like a mafia film.
It really was. And people are smoking in there. And I was late. And they were like, so our final guest. And I'm like, oh.
That's literally like a movie.
It really was.
New
And so
guy, huh?
we were looking at this giant map of Niigata. And everybody had a color code that signified where we were. And I was like, it's like Reservoir Dogs. I'm like Mr. Pink or something. I was like, I don't see my things like anywhere. And they're like, no, you have to do that because you've already driven here. And I was like, okay. And then we like unfurled the map like 3 squares, and I was over in the mountains. And it was like the most kind of isolated part of
Yeah,
this.
Niigata's pretty can get
Yeah.
mountainous.
Oh, yeah.
The elementary school had 31 students total. So it had 1 first grader. It had like 5 or 6
That's a
second graders.
non-beauty shit.
Yeah, and I was like, "Hi, I'm your English teacher," and it was to my great surprise though. I started at the junior high school, and I get there and they had a grand welcoming for me. And I've mentioned this story before on my streams or things, but I walk out into this theater, this auditorium or gym or whatever, and there's like the brass band playing, all 8 of them, and it's like there's like a kid hitting the cymbals, and then there's like the teachers and everyone's clapping,
Yeah.
and there was this one kid by like the wings of the stage.
Yeah.
He was like looking for someone, and they were like, "Get it!" And he like yanked it down, nothing happened, and he like did it again, and it unfurled this ginormous poster that said, "Welcome, Petter." I was like, given my recent training, there will be no petting. I was like, Petter, and then I was like, oh man, that's not my name, but I'll go with it. So,
Oh my God.
Just roll with it.
I was like,
I
hey,
guess I'm Petter now.
Petter's here, let's go. And so I was like, all right, this is going to be interesting. And some of the things, if you're thinking about being a teacher, you need to realize is you have like a school lunch, which is made by like a nutritionist, and you might get like fish heads or, really healthy things.
A balanced diet.
Yeah.
A balanced diet,
Yeah.
and you get like a carton of milk. You don't get a separate lunch from like the teachers. So it's very, and you got to eat with the kids a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You go to different classes and you're like sitting in, and you're like, okay, I'm too fat for this shit. And you're like, hey kids, how you doing? And you're like, and you don't know how to use chopsticks maybe, or, there's a lot of things you don't know.
You're really thrown in the deep end.
Culture
Yeah.
differences, yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, I had to do a lot of farming and agriculture work.
Because you're in the mountains?
Because I'm in the mountains.
Right.
So I had to teach them like the names of animals they may slaughter or raise, I guess, or animal husbandry, or like equipment, or and then they were like, well, it's time for you to go out to the fields and plant some rice, or we're gonna do hard backbreaking labor. And they're like, what?
It's actually shocking the amount of like schools that still do that to this day.
Yes, I mean, I
Yeah.
lived
in the mountains, they still do that.
What kind of stuff we're doing?
So for the Undokai, which is the sports festival, we planted our own rice so that by the harvest time we could enjoy the fruits of our labor.
I guess that's
Right.
kind of cool.
It's kinda
but
cool.
also-
That's cool.
It's also because like a lot of these like kids that grow up in these kinds of environments, they end up working in
Yeah, makes
farms
sense.
Yeah.
anyway, or they go to like high schools that are like agriculture based, or like colleges that are agriculture based. So they're just like, well, let's implant this knowledge into them while they're young, because they're
for
probably going to end up in that occupation anyway.
and the English teacher who's there by accident. It's and
learn our culture.
Yes,
do our work.
Well, it was tough because I showed up in like a suit, and I remember, I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And it's brutally hot. It's not a beach town. This is not a resort. It's the most humid city on planet Earth. I swear.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're like, today we're gonna run around this giant, like 2 or 3 kilometer field that was like their harvesting field. But every morning, the students and teachers all do 3 laps to like promote, I don't know, health. And I was like, I'm wearing like, a suit. And he was like, the principal, really nice guy. He was like, oh, daijoubu. And he was like, I think I have some old soccer shorts. And he got me some Umbros. And Umbros are like what I remember from like 8 years old, which are like these sequenced soccer shorts.
Yeah.
And I am not the same size of a thin Japanese man. And I put those things on, and it was like the tightest, shorts. I barely got my thigh through, them. And now I'm like, and so I'm running
Did you
with
look like
necktie.
a pedo?
You look like
Hey, who's that new teacher? And so I'm like running in like dress shoes and Umbros and a suit or a shirt with a tie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I've made a terrible mistake. But these parts I actually enjoyed. These kids had a real charming quality to them. They were very innocent. They were very intelligent. And they actually taught me a lot of things. But I needed to quickly learn that I am not a teacher. I'm not here to promote a lot of the concepts that you would learn as an English student in your schools.
Yeah.
I'm here to provide the one thing, and I think a lot of English teachers who come here make this mistake. You gotta remind yourself, what is the one thing that a native English speaker has that Japanese teachers do not, and that you can feel and know the language, right?
Yeah.
So you can make it interactive, you can make it fun, and it doesn't have to be about grammar and vocabulary and writing stuff. It can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think a lot of people come here with the expectation of, oh, well, I'll be a teacher. No, you will not. You will be planting rice in gym shorts, or you will be welcomed with banners that say Petter, or driving to new places. But I think it has gotten better the last 10 years, certainly since when I showed up.
Yeah.
I hope so.
You'd hope so.
I really hope so.
It's a lot more mainstream, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It certainly has. And but even then, I'd say English teaching was a massive industry, even probably bigger than it is now due to some changes that they've made with the way eikaiwas work. So do you want me to continue this?
Yeah,
No, it's super fascinating.
I'm so sorry.
Because I've never heard the entire process from beginning to
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
Well, 1 second. I don't know. I just need a drink.
This episode is sponsored by Boxu. Guys, Sakura season is just around the corner. And every year, Boxu is sharing the beauty of the cherry blossoms by releasing their limited edition snack collection. Check it out.
Oh my God.
But for those of you who don't know, let me tell you about what Boxu is. Boxu delivers the experience of tasting.
For sponsoring us.
Back to the episode.
The 3 months ended, and I ended up working inside of an Ito-Yokado for a new startup
supermarket
business.
for those
It's
who
a
don't.
giant supermarket which has clothing stores, it has shoe stores, toy departments. It's like a mall.
It's like the Walmart, basically.
Yeah. But they're all unique stores, though. They all have their own little stuff. So this guy who had helped me be a liaison with the first company I came with, he thought I had some real potential.
Potential in what?
Teaching. I guess if I, self-deprecating aside, I think I'm a pretty okay communicator, and I can motivate
Very much
students
so,
very well.
yeah.
So
You got potential, kid.
I got potential. So he was like, I want to start a new company with just you as the main teacher. You're the only teacher. And we're going to set up in this supermarket mall place.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. And I'm getting a massive increase in my salary. And I was like, that sounds great. He found me an apartment. I had to give the car back, so it had to be within walking distance.
This is still in Niigata.
This is still in Niigata.
Right.
But winter's approaching. I did not know that Niigata leads the nation in snowfall every year.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Before we get to this point, what did you do about accommodation